Hey guys, it's Ben, the real ones, and James Marriott has just released a new EP called No Left Brain. I knew there was an EP coming out, I just didn't realise it would be today of all days. James Marriott is a YouTuber who has recently converted his creativity into music and becoming, well, a pretty decent artist. Are there flops on this EP? Of course. Just to let you know, there won't be a crazy high score just because there's 4 tracks. There isn't much to go off here, but for a first project, I can definitely tell you he didn't do all that bad. And when listening to these tracks, I think YouTube and Spotify anyway, when I went on it, I noticed the tracks were in an awkward position. So I'm going to rate it on how the track list was in order for me. Let's start with the first track, Slow Down. The first track is actually a pretty decent opening track to an EP, yet although it isn't that much of a great song, it definitely still has its moments, whether that's some of the creative lines in here. I would put this as his most technical track to this day. I think the hook is easily one of the best hooks throughout this whole EP, and I honestly believe it has some of the better lyricism throughout this whole project. I remember watching James Marriott a year or two ago, and I could be wrong by saying this. I believe it was him who opened up about a drinking addiction. I don't know whether he was joking. I can never tell if he's sometimes joking or being serious. So I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But definitely in this track, he does mention about himself losing it at the bottom of an empty glass, I believe he says, which happened after the second bridge. You know what? The bridge is actually pretty good. I'm being 100% honest. I actually think it's pretty good, up to high artist level. But it ends really terribly with these disgusting, awful vocals. What the fuck were you thinking, James? But can you save me? It sounded like you were doing a parody of Machine Gun Kelly from a track from Tickets to My Downfall. Why? The track Him is actually one of the better tracks on this EP, I almost said album. What I really like about this track as well, James seems to be opening up more about his issues, whether that's with the last hook connected to the last verse, the verse 3, where he's questioning, he's having all these debates in his head. I wouldn't say he's conflicted, but he's definitely anxious, and he seems to blame it on himself than his ex-girlfriend, who is clearly is targeted on in the video, in the song. God, he's not just a YouTuber. You know what? There were some pretty good lines on this as well. Take the New Year's line, for example. I'll get up on the screen because I can't remember it. Just like anyone else who is British, we all thought of Sam Smith when we saw the title. His vocals are definite improve to Slow Down. Slow Down, his vocals were, it was a fuck. Yeah, I'm just happy he sounded comfortable over the beat, because Slow Down I did have quite a bit of an issue with. New Face. Ooh, New Face. Very, very happy with. This was something that I badly wanted when he dropped this EP. This has easily got to be my favourite track yet he's ever made. Well, this EP, or the songs he's ever made, is on this EP, I guess. But yeah. So the first segment, would you believe it? He's on about a new face, or a change of identity. He sort of explains later on the song he's evolved from what he was when he was with his last girlfriend. And I believe there's a line towards the end where he says, I didn't change for you, I did it for my new girlfriend. I'm saying it from the perspective of James. I 100% prefer the structure to this track than any of the other tracks so far. Slow Down, I personally thought it had a pretty decent structure. Everyone's going to shit on it. I think even James hates himself. But I'm telling you, it's not the worst track on this EP. I'll quickly show up my favourite lyrics from this track. I'll put it up on the screen for you. That beat change fixes this whole song. It is just amazing. I'm very happy he actually had a beat change. Although it was all still going well anyway. It was just the cherry on the top. It was a... why not finish the EP with this song? I felt like when I was listening to it, and when it transitions into the next track, what's it called? Calling? I don't know. I can't see. But it doesn't transition well. I would have loved to see this for the last track. The next track, Calling, is easily my least favorite track from his category so far. For me, it was just so boring and so generic. There was nothing bold and outstanding about this track at all compared to the rest of the EP. You know what? The bit that I really do admire from this track is he manages to change the hook. And I'm telling you, when you write music, changing the hook 3 times is not easy. He has different hooks for... Well, he changes the hook up every time, which for me impresses me at least. I found that to be the most enjoyable bit, but then at the same time I didn't like how it flowed. But nevertheless, he also sounded very comfortable on this track. With James, yes, with his first track, it wasn't that great when it came to being comfortable and knowing what he's doing on a track. I don't know how to explain it. His vocals were just everywhere. But with these new tracks, you can definitely see, even just a few tracks later on from that first song, you can definitely see big improvement. Do I still think his vocals are great throughout the whole EP? Of course not. But he definitely sounds a lot more comfortable in places than others. I'm going to give my rating. I'm going to give this I'll give this a 5 out of 10. I was about to give it a 4. And the reason why I was about to give it a 4 was because I have been waiting for this EP since last year. I think it was like mid last year, where he said he was coming out with a project, and I believe he originally called it Time. Time Later, I'm not really impressed by some of the material. There are some tracks here, and I feel like a song like Slow Down, he beats himself up too much, because it's definitely one of the better tracks on this EP. Check in my description to see where I would rate them in order. I feel like I can speak out on this, especially as I made one of the greatest songs of last year. By the way, that's a fucking joke. It was so generic. But yeah, I would honestly consider listening to this EP, although it is kind of rough. I do believe James is going to get better. So if you want to watch that progression of him doing and succeeding, I'd really recommend checking out this EP. And I've been a fan of James for 2 years now, before he did all memeless stuff. You guys have been amazing. I've been Ben. You're the real ones. Ow.